This is a group of workers struggling at the bottom of society. Young men in their early 20s saying they no longer have any dreams.
现在没有梦想了，真的，现在是绝望。100块钱干8、9个小时，我都说了，饿死都不去干。
This is a documentary that was completely banned in China shortly after its release, yet it reached tens of millions of views overseas. It is the documentary Sanhe Job Market, produced by Japanese television. Many people claim Japan made it on purpose to damage China's image.
大人的特征就是不想干活。第一点，首先是懒。第二点就是工价太低了，也不想干。有时候太累了，不想干。大人还有就是几天不吃饭。
It went viral because it truly exposed the reality of a young generation that chose to lie flat and give up on life. Unlike the intense competition in big cities, here the youth work one day and rest for 3. They refuse stable jobs, yet fiercely fight over a 50 yuan day gig paid on the spot. They also have no concept of saving money. If they have cash in hand, they rush to the internet cafe, spend the whole night gaming, sleep in the chairs when they're exhausted, wake up, and keep playing. When hunger hits, they eat a 4 yuan instant noodle. Thirsty? You drink a 2 yuan bottle of water. They just go with the flow, letting life carry them wherever it wants. That's why netizens started calling them the Sanhe gods. And the defining trait of these gods is simple. They don't want to work. The one who said this was Song Chunjiang, a 27-year-old who has been working in Shenzhen for 12 years. In the beginning, he always repeated the same phrase: "Heaven rewards those who work hard." He believed that even without an education, as long as he put in the effort, he could change his own destiny. But reality taught him a harsh lesson. After graduating from technical school at 15, he was sent by the school to an internship in Shenzhen. He thought he would be doing some technical job, but ended up being treated like a machine that never turns off, working non-stop on the assembly line. Even though the factory officially limited work hours to 8 per day, supervisors always found excuses to force interns to work overtime. At the worst point, Song Chunjiang stood on the assembly line for 16 hours straight. And what did he get for all that effort? Just 2,000 yuan, a miserable wage. The brutal reality slowly ate away at his motivation. He stopped believing in the idea that heaven rewards hard work, quit without hesitation, and went straight to the famous Sanhe Job Market, the most notorious in Shenzhen, becoming one more among the so-called gods. Shenzhen, a megacity with over 18 million people, is home to global giants like DJI, known for its drones, Tencent, a tech powerhouse, and Huawei, a world leader in telecommunications. But behind all this prosperity, there is a crowd stuck at the bottom of the social pyramid. 10 kilometers from the city center lies the infamous Sanhe Job Market, where countless migrant workers arrive every day hoping to find any job that can keep them alive. But the environment there is hostile: illegal middlemen, scammers, fraudulent factories, and even pyramid schemes everywhere. Many inexperienced young workers fall victim to repeated scams. They work for months for free and never see a paycheck. That's why the gods only accept same-day payment jobs. Even if the pay is low, at least they get the money immediately. A recruiter explained that factories are finding it increasingly difficult to hire. Wages are extremely low, exploitation is constant, and workers are forced to work overtime every single day. The real workday easily reaches 12 hours, yet the salary barely covers basic expenses. Because of that, turnover is extremely high. Some workers quit in less than 2 weeks. And most of those who leave end up joining the ranks of the Sanhe gods. They no longer want to be exploited by factories, but they also can't find a stable job due to all the pressures and limitations they face. Financial strain, lack of prospects, and mental exhaustion leave these young people increasingly defeated. They try to change their lives, try to fight back, but nothing changes. In the end, they lose the will to fight. If they have money in their pockets, they simply don't work. If they run out of money, they'd rather sleep on the street than return to a factory. After all, working doesn't bring money, and it takes away their freedom. And for them, living without freedom is worse than living with little. As long as we're young, we might as well live a bit happily in our own way, they think. As soon as he received his 100 yuan, Song Chunjiang went straight to the internet cafe, where he played until he lost track of time. With that amount, he can live a comfortable life for the next 3 days. When someone asked him why he doesn't use his youth to pull himself together and try to change his fate, he replied, "I used to be young too, right? And look at me now. I still have nothing. Nothing changed. I got used to it. And when you get old, what will you do? If I get old, I get old. If I die, I die. Song Chunjiang doesn't think this kind of mindset is something to be ashamed of, because he doesn't steal or deceive anyone. Every cent he has was earned through his own labor. Facing the camera, he even jokes with irony. Don't look at me all beaten down like this. Actually, I'm a millionaire. I've got over 15 million under my name. I just need to find those 3 companies. Once I find them, I swear to God I'll put an end to all of this, you'll see. If they give me money, great. If they don't, I'll ask them for a few thousand. And if they still don't pay, I'll call the police. The problem is that, years ago, with no way out, he sold his own ID card, something common in Sanhe. Criminals buy the IDs of these gods for almost nothing, use them to register shell companies, and operate illegal schemes. Recently, by chance, he discovered that there are 3 companies registered under his name, each with a capital of 5 million. If these companies are ever investigated or shut down, as their official owner, he'll be held responsible, and will almost certainly go to prison. Under constant exploitation from the system, those at the bottom gradually give up fighting. Lying flat becomes their quiet form of resistance. Dong Dong, 22 years old, is one of the first Sanhe gods. After finishing middle school, he followed his parents to work at Foxconn, but he couldn't endure even a month of that suffocating routine and quit. Since then, he only works when he runs out of money. He enjoys this free, unrestrained lifestyle, but his girlfriend saw him as unambitious and ended up breaking up with him. At night, Shenzhen is full of gods sleeping outdoors, under bridges, in plazas, on park benches. Many wait in line just to find a place to sleep. Those who arrive late end up on the sidewalk, trying to find a hidden corner so they won't be chased away for spoiling the city's appearance. Dong Dong still gets help from his parents, so he hasn't fallen as low. He found a cheap hostel for 15 yuan a night, with free Wi-Fi, but the place is terrifying. 2 unfinished concrete rooms full of bunk beds, an acidic, suffocating smell, and bedsheets that seem like they've never been washed. Even so, he picks a bed and starts playing on his phone. But between the hostel and the internet cafe, the gods prefer the cafe. 10 yuan to spend the whole night gaming, sleeping, and temporarily escaping their lives. In the game, they feel a rush of adrenaline that lets them forget the harshness of the real world. But this long immersion also exposes them to endless ads for online loans and virtual gambling. Zhao Wei was one of the victims. Believing the illusion of quick profit, he invested all his savings, 110,000 yuan, and lost everything. After that, his emotional state collapsed, he quit his job, and became another decadent Sanhe god. Meanwhile, the older generation, the migrant workers, built Shenzhen with their own hands. They came from far away, endured exhaustion and repetitive work, sent most of their salary back home to support parents and children, and yet, even after years of sacrifice, their lives barely improved. Their kids grew up as left-behind children, and when they became adults, they followed the same cycle of precarious labor. Song Chunjiang and Zhao Wei are part of this second generation. Raised without their parents, poorly educated, dropping out of school early, and crushed by reality long before adulthood. Song Chunjiang says that, since he left home more than 10 years ago, he only kept in touch with his family during the first few years. After that, he never called again. Not because he doesn't miss them, but because he feels ashamed. And every time he did call, his mother begged him to come home. But without money, he doesn't know how to face them. His hometown no longer feels like home, and Shenzhen doesn't accept him either. He lives like a rootless plant, drifting around, trying but unable to cross the social barrier that divides him from the rest of the city. Near the Sanhe job market, there's a small breakfast shop owned by Cheng Yongfa. He has been in Shenzhen for 18 years. When he was young, he lost part of his arm in an accident at a clothing factory and used the compensation to open the shop. He manages to survive, but now faces a new problem. His daughter will start primary school next year, and they don't have Shenzhen Huku. Sending her back to the countryside breaks his heart. We raised her here. If she goes back to study with her grandparents, she'll think, my parents don't want me anymore. The alternative is a private school, but the tuition fees are insanely high and a heavy burden for him. Cheng Yongfa vents, I've been here 18 years, but this city has never accepted us. We're only here to work, always needing permits and temporary registrations. We're just passers-by. We never even imagined buying a house, building a life here, becoming Shenzhen citizens. That was never an option. At the end of the documentary, the director meets a young man named Chen Yong, newly arrived from the countryside. After the college entrance exam, he was accepted into a university, but because he was poor, he couldn't afford the fees. He went out to work and save money. By the time he finally gathered enough, he had missed the school's registration deadline and was expelled. With no other choice, he gave up on his studies and went to Shenzhen, but since he couldn't find a job, he ended up living on the street. At one point, someone tried to buy his ID card. He refused immediately. He knew how important it was. Later, someone suggested he steal or rob to survive. He refused again. "I'd rather suffer a little than do something illegal." At that moment, there was still a light in his eyes. But like so many young people who arrive in Shenzhen full of dreams, the question remains, with time, will he also lose hope and become the next Sanhe god? After its release, the documentary sparked huge debate online. Some felt sympathy for these young people. Others argued that they ended up this way because they didn't work hard enough. But in the beginning, they also had dreams, until repeated disappointments broke them from the inside. Today, they live curled up in the corners of society, absorbed in the virtual world, with no plans and no hope. But they are not social parasites, as many claim. Because no matter how bitter their lives are, they have never harmed anyone. They just want, in their own small world, to fulfill the dreams that reality keeps denying them.
In the end, the story of these young people from Sanhe is the kind of reality many prefer to pretend doesn't exist. It's much more comfortable to repeat that old cliché. If you really want it, you can do it. Everyone has the same 24 hours, as if life were a video game where everyone starts with the same equipment, the same map, and the same number of lives. But in practice, you and I know that's not how things work. Don't get me wrong, I'm not completely against meritocracy, far from it. I started from nothing myself, built my own path, went through struggles no one saw and that no one would ever romanticize. It would even be unfair of me to say effort doesn't matter, because I know how hard I worked. But I'm also not one of those internet gurus who claim that if you didn't achieve something, it's simply because you didn't want it enough. That argument is far too lazy, far too simplistic, and above all, far too dishonest. Because the real world doesn't work in black and white. There are people with much heavier stories, far harsher environments, and circumstances completely out of their control. There really are those who need to fight twice, or 3 times as hard, to reach what others achieve with much less. If we deny this, it feels like we're erasing the effort of the very people who had everything working against them and still managed to rise. Saying meritocracy doesn't exist at all diminishes these people. But pretending it works the same for everyone is pure inhumanity. So what is the reality? The simplest and most bitter one. Asterisk, asterisk, the world is not fair, and nothing will ever make it completely fair. Asterisk, asterisk, the only thing we can do is not give up and do the best we can. Even if that best doesn't look like much to those who never had to face real hardship. And when I look at these young people from Sanhe, I don't see laziness, the label so many love to use. I see resignation. I see exhaustion built up from childhood. I see people who tried, failed, again and again, and realized that continuing to fight meant returning to the same cycle of exploitation that broke them before. And as ironic as it may sound, their escape sleeping in internet cafes, surviving on 100 yuan, disappearing into video games, isn't just irresponsibility. It's a silent plea for life to stop hitting so hard. So the question remains, is there a solution? Honestly, I don't think there's a simple answer, but there is discussion, and there is reflection. Maybe the danger isn't in the young people who gave up, but in us when we pretend everyone has the same opportunities. Maybe change begins when we stop repeating motivational slogans and start recognizing the real weight some people carry. That's my point of view. The world is unfair, it always has been, but that doesn't mean we should stop trying. Life is an uneven fight, and even so, the only way through is to keep moving, even when no one is watching, even when it feels pointless. And now I want to hear from you. Asterisk, asterisk, what's your view on all this? Asterisk, asterisk, do you believe merit really exists? Do you think the system breaks more people than it helps? What would you do if you were in their place? Share your thoughts in the comments. This conversation is worth far more than empty motivational phrases. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.